Disappointment. No, I'm not talking about you, members of my chat, although if the shoe fits. Am I right? Today we're going to talk about each and every team in the NBA, all 30 of them, and we're going to figure out which team has been surprising, which teams have been disappointing, and which teams have been just about what we expected heading into the season. Now, since I'm talking about every single team in the league, I'm not going to spend too much time on any team in particular, just going to go through each team pretty quickly. And just as a baseline, I'm going to put up my preseason seeding predictions for these teams, just so you guys know what I expected from these teams heading into the season. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right to the Google Docs. The Detroit Pistons, who I put them at 11th heading into the season. I thought that there was a small chance that they could fight for a play-in spot. And the main reason why I thought that was Cade Cunningham. I was like really banking on a Cade Cunningham breakout season. Like out of all of the second-year players, I thought that he had the biggest potential to have a huge breakout star level second season. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Obviously, he had the shin injury ruled out for the rest of the season. So because of that, I think the Pistons have been a little bit disappointing. Probably not fair to them. I definitely had way too high of expectations for them heading into the season. But to be fair, there's some things that you could be excited about if you're a Pistons fan. Like Jalen Duren looks way more ready for the NBA than most anybody expected, especially since he's the youngest guy in the NBA. Killian Hayes, hey, he's an NBA player. Like he's had moments where it's like, oh my God, this guy's actually going to be in the league and not in China in 2 years. So that's good for him. And Jay Ivey, you know, it's been a little bit up and down, but I always expected that for a guy like Jay Ivey, his play style. I knew that it would take some time to work out, but there's been some major high flashes, and I think too much is just being asked of him right now as a rookie, especially with Cade Cunningham's injury. He just has to carry a little bit too much of a load. But disappointing for me, I don't know. How about the worst team in the entire NBA? The Houston Rockets. Yeah, major disappointment. Huge disappointment. I expected them to be bad. I predicted that they would finish 14th in the West, so I'm not that far off, but I expected they would be fun bad. Like they would lose games but be competitive, and you'd be like, "Oh shit, here come the Houston Rockets. They're one more high lottery pick away from really turning this thing around." No. I hate them. They are my least favorite team in the NBA. They're one of my least favorite teams I've ever watched. Like, I'm just being straight up honest. I cannot stand the brand of basketball that they play. They look so far away, and I don't know if this has ever been said about a rebuilding team. They need to blow it up. I don't know if that's ever been said about a team that's already blown it up, but they need to blow up their blow up. Like, they needed to do something else. This is not a winning formula. I don't see how this could help any player progress, especially young players playing in an environment like this where the game is just so ugly and hideous. I have no idea, but they've been a huge letdown for me. Charlotte Hornets are 14th in the Eastern Conference. I think they're only a half a game up on the Pistons. I actually thought that they would finish last in the East, so that's still very much a possibility. And I'll say this is about neutral. This is about what I expected out of them, and this is where they should be, by the way. Like, competing for a play-in spot just to lose by 30 points in the opening play-in game, that's not a good, serious direction for any franchise. This is what they need to be doing. They need to be tanking. They need to be gathering in high value, high-end lottery picks. Hopefully they can get Wembanyama. Who knows? This would be a really nice destination for Wembanyama, in my opinion, even though I don't know if Wembanyama would even want to play there. But you just look at the roster, like, outside of LaMelo, who missed a huge chunk of time so far this season, like, what young players are you jumping up and down about? Like, who's making you really excited moving forward? James Bouknight? The San Antonio Spurs are 14th. You know what? I'll actually say surprising. I thought that they would finish last in the West, and I actually thought that they would be like historically bad. I thought that there was an outside chance that this could be the worst team of all time by the end of the season. And you know what? They've been a little bit frisky. Like, I think they have the worst net rating in the NBA. It's like -10. They're getting their asses kicked usually. But it's kind of interesting, you know, over the past couple of weeks, like, they played the Mavericks so close that they needed a 50-point triple-double from Luka just to win the game. They had a huge comeback against the Celtics. The Celtics had to pull one out at the end of the game. They just played the Grizzlies close last night. Like, they're a little bit frisky. Devin Vassell, I think, he's missed some time, but it looks like he's ready to take that step forward, which is what you really wanted to see if you were a Spurs fan. Like, so Jeremy Sohan, he's going to be in the NBA forever. Like, he's going to be a 20-year NBA guy. Just the way that he plays. I really like watching him play defensively. It looks amazing. So, yeah, they're terrible. They were supposed to be terrible, but they're not as terrible as I was expecting. So, I'll say that they're a surprise for me. The Orlando Magic are 13th in the East. Now, I want to say, every team moving forward in this list is either like 2.5 games out of a play-in spot, or in the West's case, like 2.5 games out of the 6th seed. That's how close the rest of these teams are from being legitimate play-in teams. So keep that in mind moving forward. Like, the seeding it doesn't matter that much. Let's talk about the Orlando Magic, who are currently 13th. I thought they would finish 13th, but they've been a surprise. Like, if they could go on a run here between now and the end of the season and be a playing team, that would not surprise me at all. We've seen stretches of them so far this season where they've looked like a legitimately good team. And Paolo, I tweeted this out last time when I was watching the Magic and Kings game. The Magic ended up losing that game, but man, watching Paolo out there, if it weren't for Wembanyama, like, if it weren't for all of this crazy, oh my God, look how good every team in the league should take for Wembanyama, like, we'd be talking about Paolo. Because the things that he's doing at his age, at his size, should not be happening. Like, this, over the last 5 or so years, well, outside of Luka's year, I don't know if I've seen a player and be like, oh yeah, this guy's going to be a fucking superstar, the way that I see it in Paolo. Like, he just has it written all over him. His game is so advanced for a player his age, and the things that he can do for a player his size are tremendous. Franz Wagner looks amazing too. Like, this guy's just going to be a perennial all-star level player for the next decade. Like, the Magic are in a great place. They're weirdly really, really good when Markelle Fultz plays. They can make a playing team they can make the play in this year, but if they continue to be bad and get another high-end lottery pick, like, they're building something tremendous there. They've been a surprise for me. They've been better than, I think, the 13th seed that you see. Like, they're better than that. The same thing with the Thunder, who are the 13th seed in the West. They've been surprising to me. I picked them to finish 11th, and I really had to control myself because I wanted to put them in the play-in tournament so bad heading into the season. But man, they've been really good over the past couple of weeks. Offensively, I think they've been like the second best offense in the NBA over the past 2 weeks. Like, what they've done this season, they've become a team where if you see the Oklahoma City Thunder on your schedule, you're like, fuck the Thunder. Like, that's gonna be a tough one. Like, they're in that category of team now where, you know, these young teams, people always say, oh, you're a scary young team. You guys are going to be spooky in a couple of years. That's so patronizing. That's what you say to teams that are not good right now that might be good. Like the Thunder, you look at them on your schedule, you're like, fuck, you have to play the Thunder. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, this is coming from an SGA stand, a huge SGA stand, maybe one of the biggest SGA stands on the platform. I don't know if I expected this. Like, I don't know if I expected him to be a legitimate top 10 level player at this stage in his career. I did not expect that. I had him 30th. In my preseason top 100, and I feel like that was aggressive. So he's been tremendous so far this season. Giddey has shown you enough. You're like, oh shit, there actually is some Giddey things. J-Dub is one of my favorite rookies in the NBA. He was a 3-year college guy, so it kind of makes some sense that he looks so, NBA ready. But I really like his game a lot. Poku has shown you some stuff. This is a good Thunder team, man. And again, they're, like 2.5 games out of the play-in? I think maybe even less than that. They're definitely in the mix. Wouldn't be surprised at all if they go on a run. Washington Wizards at 12th. My preseason prediction for them was 12th. This is a neutral team through and through. This is exactly what I thought this team would be, where there's flashes where you're like, wait, this is like a good team. Like, there's a good team here in Washington. And then flashes where it's like, okay, but they should actually just blow it the fuck up and restart, which I think for the future of their franchise is what they should be doing. Like, they should be figuring out ways. Oh, KP, your lower back hurts. Okay, you're out for the rest of the season, right? Like, Kuzma, see ya, you're out of here. Beal, oh, you want to get traded? Okay, see ya. Like, these are the things they should be doing to help move their franchise forward. But they just have a little bit too much talent on their roster to do that organically, I think. Like, KP's playing probably the best he's ever played in his whole career. I think he's going to make the All-Star game. I'm not entirely sure. Beal, when he's been on the floor, has been pretty good. Like, some of the young guys, Rui's had some moments. Deni Avdija is, offensively, I don't know if it's ever going to get there for him, but defensively, it's nice, right? Johnny Davis just looks like one of, automatically a terrible pick. Like, the moment it happened, everyone's like, yeah, that pick's probably going to suck, and it has. Like, Gafford's shown some things. This is a good team. Like a decently talented roster. This is exactly where I thought that they would be, though. So they're neutral. Lakers. My projection for them was 10th. I thought that they would be a play-in team. They're 12th right now. Even though they've been slightly underperforming where I thought they would finish, I'm still going to call them a surprise. Keep in mind, they're like a game and a half out of the 6th seed. So you have to remember that in the West, from like 6 to 12. Everybody's just so close together. So you kind of have to ignore the seeding here as we talk about some of these Western Conference teams. For the Lakers, all things considered, man, LeBron is still doing it at 38 years old. It's crazy to see. Anthony Davis should be coming back soon. I talked about this in a video I posted a couple days ago about teams I think should make a trade. I talk about the Lakers. They're not a team I'd want to see. And the play-in, like, let's say they make the play-in tournament, they finish as the 8th seed. If I'm the Nuggets, I'm like, fuck, man. I got to play the Lakers in round 1? Like, I have to play a healthy Anthony Davis and LeBron James? This is fucked up. Like, they're not a team that I'd be really excited to play. They're not a team I'm excited to play right now. They've been really good as of late. Offensively, they've been amazing. Russ has been legitimately good as a 6-man. Like, you got to give him a ton of props. And like Thomas Bryant, Dennis Schroeder, all of these guys are stepping up. They've surprised me. They actually have. The Toronto Raptors, huge disappointment. I mean, obviously, a big time disappointment. They are free falling. I never expected this. And I was even low. Like I projected them to finish 8th. And I felt low because they were like a lot of dark horse, a lot of people's dark horse candidate these. They were a lot of people's like, oh, but what about the Raptors? Like I got them finishing 4th. I didn't really see that with them, but I didn't expect them to be this bad. And it still doesn't really make that much sense to me. But offensively, they're horrific. They're absolutely terrible. It's brutal to watch. Pascal's having the best season of his career. OG Anunoby's having the best season of his career. But Fred VanVleet's been an utter disaster. Scotty Barnes has taken a step backwards somehow. It's just brutal to watch. They are not deep at all. They're dealing with some injuries in their already depleted bench. Like, it's hard to watch. I don't know how this team succeeds moving forward without blowing it up. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, looking at this core group, sure, on paper, you would like to think it works, but it just does not. Like, it needs a retooling. Utah Jazz are at 11th, right? They were the surprise of the season heading into the season, right? The first month or so of the season. They've kind of fallen off a little bit as of late. Granted, it's not that they've been terrible, right? Like, a lot of the games that they've lost have been last second or the closing minutes of the game. They sort of let it slip away. And a lot of these games, a few bounces go their way, they end up winning. So I still think that they're a good team. They're obviously a huge surprise, right? Like, nobody expected them to be as good as they are, even though in retrospect, like, maybe the Jazz change how we look at teams like this moving forward. If you have a bunch of veteran guys on your team, a bunch of guys who have been in winning environments, and I said this heading into the season, which is why I had them finishing 13th and not 15th. A lot of people thought they'd be last. I just thought they had too many guys who have been around the block too many times to be last. Like, if you have these type of guys on your roster, you could win games. You might not win at a super high level, but you could definitely pull out wins. I mean, Lauri Markkanen playing like a top 12, top 13 player in the NBA. Who the fuck? Nobody expected that. I don't even think Lauri Markkanen's mom expected this to happen. It's just been crazy. If you're a Jazz fan, obviously, you should be super excited about what's going on. Obviously, there's a part of you deep down is like, damn, I was kind of looking forward to Victor Wembanyama. But hey, you know what? Like, there's so many things to be excited about. Walker Kessler's looked really good. Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I had written him off so badly, but he didn't write back. I'm not saying that he's been really good or anything, but he definitely looks a lot better than what I expected out of him. Mike Conley's still doing things. Like, again, Lauri Markkanen. Like, you have like an all-star level player on your team kind of accidentally. Chicago Bulls are probably like the weirdest team in the league, like the most up and down team. They play great against really great opponents. Like, you watch them play the Celtics, you watch them play the Bucks, you watch them play the Nets. You're like, oh damn, the Bulls, like, whoa, are they a sneaky team? But then you watch them play the dog shit of the league, and you're like, oh my god, the Bulls are terrible and they need to blow it all up. I have no idea to think of them. I predicted them to finish 10th. They're 10th right now. So I would say they're probably neutral. Like, there's a good team hidden in here. But the problem with the Bulls is this good team, like, is this what we want? Is this what we want to do moving forward? You know, do we want this, like, perennial play-in team? Is this, like, this is what we want our roster to be? I don't know. Zach LaVine's been trending up as of late. That's a good sign. DeMar DeRozan's doing DeMar DeRozan things. You still have Lonzo out with injury. I don't know what's going on with him. I think I saw a report recently that it still hurts to walk. So I don't know what to expect out of that guy moving forward for the remainder of his career, let alone like the next year or two. So I just don't know what the Bulls. They're about what I expected. Like a good team who is probably better from a talent perspective than the 10th, their 10th seeding here would indicate. But what a weird fucking team, huh? The Portland Trailblazers, to me, I'll say disappointing. Even though I thought that they would finish 12th. The reason why I had them finishing 12th, though, was because we didn't really know about Dame. We didn't know what Dame's injury would look like. And they had, like, the hardest first month and a half of the season out of anybody in the league. So I thought that they would just kind of start off slow, and it would just kind of tailspin from there. But they actually started the season fantastic. Like, they looked like a top 5, top 6 team in the league in the first month or so of the year, and it's just fallen off of a cliff since then. Like, Damian Lillard's been good, but it's been a little bit inconsistent out of him. Anthony Simons has been inconsistent. Like, this team as a whole, they're just kind of Like, that's just really what I feel about them. I was talking about this like a week ago in one of my streams. I was like, just so weird how the Trailblazers are like 2 games over 500. This is when they were 2 games over 500. I think they're below 500 now. But it was like, it's so weird that, like, literally nobody speaks about them. I honestly forgot they were in the league for a second until one of their games popped up on League Pass. I was like, oh yeah, fuck the Trailblazers. I guess I'll watch them. I haven't watched them in a while. But it's like, I don't know what to think. They're in this very weird spot. Like, you have to commit. In today's league, you have to commit. You're either going to win, you're either going to go for it, or you're going to rebuild. You can't do this like half in-between thing that the Trailblazers are trying to do, because as you can see with the Trailblazers, it just doesn't work. And Chauncey Billups looks like a disaster as well. Obviously, the Atlanta Hawks have been a disappointment. I mean, do I really need to get into that? I've already talked about them like several times on this channel over the last 2 weeks, so don't want to go too deep into that. The crazy thing with them is with their starting five, with Trey, with DeJounte, with DeAndre Hunter, with John Collins, with Clint Capella, they're one of the best five-man lineups in the entire NBA. The problem is getting all those guys on the floor at the same time. And hey, that's just how the game is. We can talk about injuries. People always bring up injuries. Oh, well, injuries. Yeah, this is how fucking sports work. Teams get injured. It's how you respond to that. It's how deep are you. That's what makes good teams good teams. The Atlanta Hawks are not a good team. They are in a complete and total disarray. I know that they're the 9th seed, but they're in the play-in. But I don't know where they go moving forward. They're not in a very good spot. But yeah, beyond that, if I shit on the Houston Rockets for how hard it is to watch them play, the Hawks are also incredibly hard to watch. Their offense is disgusting. But at least for the Hawks, they do have an offensive superstar in Trae Young and a couple other like really great offensive players. For the Rockets, it's not that. Timberwolves, some recency bias here, because obviously they're a disappointment, and they are a disappointment. But they've been playing better as of late. Anthony Edwards over the last month or so looks like a legitimate all-star guy. Like I'm gonna sit down sometime soon and do an all-star thing. Anthony Edwards might be an all-star. I don't know. The guard spot in the West is stupid stacked. Like maybe an injury replacement or something. But it wouldn't surprise me if Anthony Edwards got his first all-star nod this year. But obviously they're a disappointment. I mean, what is there to say? Like the Rudy Gobert shit, he's been playing better lately. But I mean, what we saw with him and Cat, it does not make you very excited. We've already talked about this before, but this is a team that blew all of their assets on getting this team. Like getting Rudy Gobert. Obviously, it hasn't worked out. Obviously, if you're a Timberwolves fan, things look bleak. At least Anthony Edwards has been trending in the right direction, right? So that's a good sign. D'Angelo Russell remains one of the funniest players in the NBA. Like every fan base has one player on their team that they hate probably more than they should. D'Angelo Russell is definitely that guy for the Timberwolves, although I don't think he's very good. Like I wouldn't really want him on my team, but Timberwolves fans just hate this guy's guts. The Miami Heat, dangerous Loomers. I feel like that's exactly where they are again. Dangerous Loomers, is that what it was? That Bleacher Report graphic, Dangerous Loomers, whenever they had them in the Lakers in that category last year. That's kind of exactly where they are again. Like they've had a lot of injuries. So I think for them being the 8th seed and being where they're at is actually kind of impressive. So I'm just going to go neutral. This is kind of what I expected. I didn't expect them to look like a top end contender. I definitely didn't expect them to look as disappointing as they have at times this season. But again, tons of injuries. They have Kyle Lowry on the roster, who's horrendous. Bam Adebayo's taken a big step up. And as a Bam Adebayo supporter, chokes me up a little tiny bit. I'm not gonna lie. Tyler Hero's looked really good at times. It's what you've expected out of Tyler Hero. Like the Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo pick and roll is one of the best in the league. Jimmy Butler's been great, and he's just kind of like coasting, right? Now you have this fucking Orlando Robinson guy. I've been saying this, like Miami Heat, they could sign me. Like they could sign me. They could bring me in off the street, give me 3 to 4 months, and I could average 2.5 points a game with the Miami Heat. Like that's how crazy their player development and scouting is. I'm not saying Orlando Robinson's great or anything, but he's better than Dwayne Dedman, probably, who's horrible. So I don't know. Like the Miami Heat, I'll just say neutral. Oh, the Phoenix Suns. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back here. This is one of my most aggressive preseason rankings. And granted, some of it came from hate. I'm not going to lie. Some of it came from a place of hatred. But I predicted them to finish 7th and be in the play-in. And wow, they have just been tail spinning. Like I get that Devin Booker's been out. And obviously you're without your best player. That's going to hurt. But man, like one of the calling cards of this Suns team was that they were deep. They could beat you in a bunch of different ways. One guy sits out. It doesn't really matter. Like they weren't this bad without Devin Booker in the past, but they don't even look like an NBA team. Like they have straight up been one of, if not like the worst team in the league over the past 2 weeks. It's been awful. I think they have the 29th ranked offense over the last 2 weeks. It is so incredibly hard to watch. Chris Paul is done. That is finito. It is over and done with Chris Paul. And now he's like dealing with an injury again. DeAndre Ayton, and I mean no disrespect when I say this, DeAndre Ayton is my least favorite player in the NBA. And he seems like a great guy. He seems hilarious. But you watch him play, there's moments where it's like, oh my God. Like there's like a dominant center hiding in this guy who, it just, the way he plays sometimes is so fucking maddening considering how you know he is capable of playing. It's like this soft, lethargic level of play that is just infuriating. And if I were a Suns fan, oh my God, it would make me so angry. Like Mikal Bridges is not the guy that they want him to be offensively just yet, maybe at some point in his career, but isn't he kind of old? He's like 26, 27 already, so I highly doubt that that's happening. But man, they're tail spinning. For me, I would say neutral, right? Like, this is what I expected. No, they've been a disappointment, though, for real. The New York Knicks. Wow. Definitely a surprise. I figured that they would be pretty good and competitive. I knew Jalen Brunson was going to be great there. As a Mavericks fan, I watched him last year. I knew he was going to be awesome as the main guy, or the main point guard, at least, on a team. But they've been really good. And they've had stretches where it's been really, really good. Obviously, they had, what was that 8-game winning streak at one point back in December. And then, they kind of fell off a little bit. And then the past 2 weeks, they've also been tremendous. I think they're one of the few teams in the league to be top 10 in both offensive rating and defensive rating. So this Knicks team, man, Julius Randle's playing probably better than he played when he made the All-NBA team a few years ago. He's been tremendous. His game last night was hilarious. It was like 9 of 29. But, all things considered, I don't think he played that poorly there. Jalen Brunson set a career high in points, 38 points, like 4 nights ago. And then last night, he dropped 44 points. He's been tremendous. I hope that one of these guys are an all-star. My big concern is that coaches and players think, okay, the Knicks should have 1 all-star, not 2, just 1 all-star. Then they end up splitting the vote between Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, and neither of those guys get in. I hope that's not what happens. I hope Jalen Brunson gets in, obviously, as a Mavericks fan. But if you're a Knicks fan, you love what you see, and this team just plays hard as fuck. Like, this is what they looked like 2 years ago, whenever they had that improbable run to be a 4 seed. Like, this is what you wanted to see out of this Knicks team, and this is what you've gotten. I think that they're also just trending in the right direction, and they still have so many assets to make a trade. Like, this team could be really, really dangerous in a few years. Huge surprise. Shout out to Jalen Brunson. Vote him into the All-Star game, guys. Oh, God. The Clippers. You know what? Like, they've been a huge disappointment. Do not get me wrong. They are also like the most fraudulent team in the NBA right now. I think by expected win totals, when you look at some of these advanced metrics, I think that they have the biggest differential between their expected win total and their actual win total. Like, I don't know how they've been skating by up until this point, and they've been free falling as of late. Offensively, they are terrible. Even when Kawhi is out there, they just don't look good offensively. Kawhi definitely looks like he's lost a step. Now, I don't want to write him off completely just yet because he still looks good. Like, it's still fucking Kawhi Leonard. But it's not like this basketball robot the last time we saw him when he was eviscerating the Dallas Mavericks and the Utah Jazz in the playoffs before he unfortunately tore his ACL. Like, we were literally witnessing the start to what could have been one of the greatest postseason runs of all time. That's how amazing he was in that postseason. Definitely looks like he's lost a little bit of a step. Could be a conditioning thing. Could be him getting his feet under him. Like, come March, we could be like, oh yeah, shit, it's Kawhi Leonard. We should have expected this, right? But I don't know. Paul George has been playing like a top 10 player, so there's that. But outside of that, like Reggie Jackson, gross, no. John Wall, no. Marcus Morris, no. Moses Brown's the backup center, no. There's so many things about this team that I do not like, but they still have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard at the end of the day. But they've been a disappointment. I thought they'd finish 3rd. I'm a fucking idiot. I don't know why I thought that. The biggest surprise of the season, right? I thought Utah would be the biggest surprise of the season. I forgot about Indiana. Obviously, they're the biggest surprise of the season. I thought that they would finish 14th. And in fact, I was very, very confident in that 14th. Like, I thought that, one, I didn't think that they were that talented of a roster, but I also thought that they'd be like, yeah, you know what? Let's just tank. Let's tank hard as fuck and get Wembanyama. But man, offensively, they are a machine. And this is the Rick Carlisle effect. Like, this is who Rick Carlisle is as a coach. I never got the respect that he deserved. He's always been a top tier coach. If I had a vote for coach of the year, he would have to get it. I mean, we're talking about, when you're looking at the teams like performing to where they were expected to perform, Indiana is sitting right at the top of that list, man. Tyrese Halliburton's been amazing. He's going to be an all-star for sure. Ben Math has been great as a rookie. I love watching that guy play, man. He just plays with such an edge. Like, he's going to be an amazing player for years to come. Miles Turner's been great. Buddy Hield's playing the best basketball of his entire career. So, a lot of things to be excited about in Indiana. Nimhard looks really good as a rookie, too. Like, they got a bunch of really promising young players. Tyrese Halliburton has been awesome. Just a weird segment of like Twitter, and obviously you had the whole Wally Szczerbiak debacle, but also there's a huge segment of Twitter that's like, whoa, Tyrese Halliburton's actually not good, and I'm going to show you all of his passes last night and why anybody can make these. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you even talking about? Like, are you okay in the head? What do we do with Golden State? Because I had them finishing first heading into the season. I thought that there would be kind of an edge, right? Like, oh, people think that our ring was, you know how professional athletes are like, nobody thinks that the Golden State Warriors ring is fake, but like in that locker room, I thought they'd be like, oh, nobody believes in us, nobody respects us. They had the Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole debacle, and I thought that'd actually fuel them. So to see them 6th is obviously a letdown, at least considering where I had them ranked heading into the season. But I'm actually going to go with surprise here in a good way because they've had so many things go against them. Their bench, oh my God, it looks so terrible to start the season. Then Steph gets injured. And it's like, oh my God, like, are they going to be the 13th seed by the time Steph gets back? And then they turn it around. Steph's coming back tonight as of the time I'm recording this, or at least that's what it sounds like. So they righted the ship to the 6th seed. They are, 14-4 or some crazy shit like that at home, right? And that's considering they've lost 2 games at home in the last week. But they are 3-14 on the road. It's the most shocking 3-14, 3-16, something like that. It's the most shocking thing you'll ever fucking see. Like, it is absolutely hard to believe how dominant they are at home and how horrendous they are on the road. So maybe that's a little bit disappointing. I don't know, because obviously in a playoff setting, you're going to need to win games on the road. But considering everything that's been up against them, I think they've actually been a surprise. And also considering, like, Jordan Poole hasn't been very good. Like, you just asked. We're reaching a point in the East where every team from here on out, I think, could win the Eastern Conference. Like, I think the East is way more wide open than pretty much everyone else thinks. Everyone else thinks it's the Bucks and the Celtics. I disagree. I think that every team that we're about to talk about in the East could win it. In the West, I don't know. The Thunder could win the West the way that the West is playing. I have zero idea what's going on in that conference. But in the East, all of these teams are good. The 76ers, I thought that they would finish first in the conference going into the season. Obviously, that's not the case, but I'm still going to say that they're neutral. Like, they're about as good as I thought that they would be. They started the season off terribly. Embiid's missed 30% of the games. Harden's missed a good chunk of games. Maxi's missed a good chunk of games. And they're still just chugging along, man. Like, they're a good team. Defensively, they're really good. Embiid, when he plays, has been absolutely dominant, having another MVP-worthy season. Harden might start the All-Star game. Even though he's missed all this time, he still might start the All-Star game. That's how good he's been. Like, they're still a good team. There's some moves that they should make. Like, while I think they could win the East, I definitely don't feel as good about them as I do some other teams. There's obviously that a lot of that is a Doc Rivers effect, but you know, there's still some moves they can make. I got to give like Montrezl Harrell a shout out because Embiid's missed some time recently. Harrell stepped up and been good. Paul Reed stepped up and been good. Like, I don't know, they're just good. They're just where I expected them to be. The Sacramento Kings are 5th in the Western Conference. I thought that they would be good. 9th, I predicted them to finish 9th in a play-in. That kind of felt aggressive at the time too, considering, you know, we're talking about the Sacramento Kings. But holy shit, obviously they're a huge surprise, right? Mike Brown, I think he might be coach of the year favorite right now, or at least he's way up there. They've been really good, and they're one of these teams that are really fun to watch, man. Offensively, they're one of the best offenses in the league. Over the past 2 weeks, they've been one of the best offenses in the league. They're a machine. They just pass the ball so much. I think they're 4th in total passes per game. They just move the ball around. Sabonis has been awesome. The best season of his career. De'Aaron Fox, king of the 4th quarter. He has a good chance to win that Jerry West clutch shot maker player of the season award. He's got a really good chance to win that award. Kevin Huerter's been awesome. That trade still so fucking stupid. What were the Hawks thinking? But Kevin Huerter's been awesome. Malik Monk's been awesome. Like, they've just been great. Keegan Murray's been trending upwards as of late, which is great to see. Just won Rookie of the Month in the Western Conference. So, yeah, I mean, the Kings, how can they not be a surprise? The Kings are 5th in the West. The Sacramento Kings. The Cleveland Cavaliers, 4th in the Eastern Conference. But I will say this, by a lot of advanced metrics, they're like a top 2, top 3 team. Like, advanced metrics absolutely love the Cleveland Cavaliers this year. And they've been a huge surprise, to me at least, even though in retrospect, they probably shouldn't have been. But it's funny because if you were to tell Cavaliers fans heading into the season, hey, you know, Mobley hasn't really made the leaps offensively that we kind of hope for. The lack of wing depth is really apparent. Like, you still don't really have a really, like, come playoff time, you have no idea who you're going to start at the 3. Darius Garland misses a decent chunk of time. Jared Allen misses a decent chunk of time. Karis LeVert is Karis LeVert. Like, Cavs fans are probably like, oh, man, we're a little bit disappointing. But no, they've been amazing because Donovan Mitchell's like a top 7, top 8 player in the NBA. They have, by pretty much every single advanced metric, either the best defense in the league or a top 2 defense in the NBA. Like, Mobley hasn't taken the step up I at least wanted to see out of him offensively, but he's still been great defensively. Jared Allen defensively. Like, this is a team, come playoff time. This is why I don't understand all this shit where people are like, oh, it's the Celtics and Bucks. And maybe the Cavs, if they make a move. I think the Cavs, they play a brand of basketball that wins in the playoffs. They have the slowest pace in the NBA, which is hard to believe considering the Dallas Mavericks exist. But they play at such a slow pace. They spread the floor. They spam pick and rolls with Donovan Mitchell. The Donovan Mitchell pick and roll duos with either Mobley or Jared Allen are both amazing. Like, they just spam these pick and rolls. They have 2 great ball handlers. Like, they play great defense. This is a team that can win in a playoff setting. And if they somehow swing a trade for a really decent wing, I don't know how they would be able to do it considering they have pretty much no assets. Like, yeah, they immediately strengthen their position as a title contender, for real title contender. That's how good they are defensively. Like, the Cavaliers are great. They're a surprise. What else needs to be said? Oh, the Dallas Mavericks. Yes, I predicted the Dallas Mavericks to finish second, okay? I'm slightly biased. What the fuck do you expect out of me? I have no idea what to think of this team. I have absolutely zero clue. In a lot of regards, they're a surprise. Like, all things considered, them being the 4th seed, definitely a surprise, especially considering where they were a month ago. But also, in some aspects, they're a disappointment. Like, without Luka, they were horrific. Last year, they were bad without Luka, but they were still, like, passable. They could beat teams. They could beat the lower tier teams in the NBA. And, hell, they won 2 playoff games without Luka. So, definitely way better than they are now. This year, they are atrocious. Like, they are a bottom 3 team in the league level bad without Luka Doncic. Jason Kidd has been a fucking roller coaster. Like, there's a lot of things that have been disappointing. There's a lot of things that have been surprising. I'll go with surprising, actually, because it is a surprise that they're the 4th seed, all things considered. Absolutely. And you know what? I was just thinking about this. I've never bought into these narratives, and this is probably going to piss some people off, but it is what it is. I've never bought into these narratives that, oh, there's like some Jokic MVP agenda going on. Like, last year, there was a lot of that talk from Philadelphia fans, mainly like, oh, there's a Jokic MVP agenda. There actually might be. Like, there really might be a Jokic MVP agenda, because last year it was like, oh my god, I can't believe Jokic is dragging this fucking team, this shit fucking team, to the 6th seed. Like, oh, no, we don't care about 1st seeds anymore. Like, they're the 6th seed. But now Luka's the 4th seed in the West with a horrendous supporting cast, and he's putting up otherworldly numbers. But now it's like, oh, well, Jokic is the 1st seed. It's like, wait, but I thought we established a year ago that what I thought last year but this year, but why is it that the Dallas Mavericks are a surprise? Whatever. Do I think they can win a finals? No, I absolutely don't, unless they make some crazy move between now and the end of the season. But I always say this about the Mavericks. They play a brand of basketball that works in the playoffs, and if they get hot from 3, which is possible, we've seen it. They did it last postseason. They could beat anybody in a playoff series because they will have the best player on the floor. He's the best player in the league, so they'll have the best player on the floor in Luka Doncic. And if they're hitting shots, they're going to be really hard to beat. They're the 4th seed without their best defenders for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, you know what? They've been a surprise. Why not? The 3 seed. Is it possible to be a 3 seed in a disappointment? Yes, because the Milwaukee Bucks have disappointed me. I don't think they're this good. I think the Cavaliers are better than them. I think the Sixers are better than them right now. Now, granted, they could improve between now and the postseason. Chris Middleton comes back and plays well. Obviously, they're a much, much, much different team than they are now. But this team stinks offensively. It's brutal to watch. It is brutal to watch. And I do have to wonder at some point, like, I have to hear all of these fucking arguments against Luka and, oh my god, the heliocentrism, oh my god, the usage rate. At least his offense is great. Like, at least the Mavericks produce a historic level half-court offense, right? The Bucks, Giannis has the highest usage rate in the NBA. Their offense fucking sucks. It is horrible. It is terrible to watch. I cannot stand watching these guys play offense. Awful. And Giannis is shooting 28% outside of the restricted area. 28%. Like, is it possible to produce the stat lines that Giannis has produced in the season and still have a letdown season? That's what it feels like. I think that's why a lot of advanced metrics do not like Giannis this year. Like, Giannis is out of the top 15 in most advanced stats. It's actually crazy to see. They're still really good defensively, which is good to see for them, because last year it was kind of the opposite. Their defense was really a letdown during the regular season. I would rather my defense be really good and my offense be figuring stuff out heading into the playoffs, which is probably where the Bucks are going to be. They're still a scary team in the postseason, don't get me wrong, but they've disappointed me so far. New Orleans Pelicans, obviously surprised. I fucked this one up. I thought that they would be the 8th seed. Granted, in my defense, I was worried about their health. I was worried about injuries for them, but they've been amazing. And they're so deep, man. Like, health has been a factor. Zion's missed time. He's going to be out for several weeks now. Brandon Ingram has barely played this season. CJ McCollum has had to miss some time, but yet they're still winning games because they are just absurdly deep. Trey Murphy has been great. He's taken a big step up. Jose Alvarado is like a real legitimate NBA player. Like, it's not like a meme and a joke. Like, Jose Alvarado is a real legitimate NBA player. Dyson Daniels, a tremendous rookie defender. Like, they've had probably the 2 best rookie defensive players the league has seen the last decade over the past 2 years with Dyson Daniels and with Herb Jones. They're just winning games, man. Shout out to Willie Green. Like, they're a deep team. They're a terrifying team come playoff time. I still think that they need some bumps and bruises in the postseason before they're really ready. Like, that's just how historically it's worked, right? These young teams, they need to make playoffs. They need to lose in the playoffs before they're really ready to win. I think that's probably going to be the case for them as well. But I don't want to see them in the playoffs, that's for sure. Offensively, how the fuck do you stop Zion? How? And especially when you had Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum's been trending upwards as of late, because he started the season off terribly, but he's been trending upwards as of late. their offense, gross in a good way. Surprising. Brooklyn Nets, for a lot of people, surprised. For me, I'm going neutral. I thought that they would be good. Obviously, they were the most volatile team in the league heading into the season. Nobody knew what to expect out of them. But I just, looking at the roster, was like, I mean, if Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are on the floor, they're going to be fucking really good. Like, this roster is sick. Now, obviously, Kevin Durant's going to be out for the next month, it sounds like, which is horrible. And I'm worried about what that means for the Brooklyn Nets moving forward. But Kevin Durant was playing just as good as he's played in his MVP season. Like, he was a legitimate top 3 MVP candidate, in my opinion. I mean, he was having an otherworldly season offensively. And he's going to come back. I don't know why. I'm knock on wood. I don't know why I'm talking like that. Like, he's going to come back and be awesome because it's Kevin Durant. Kyrie Irving's been great. A real chance to start the All-Star game. In fact, he probably will end up starting the All-Star game. He's been tremendous. And Nick Claxton. Like, this guy might be the defensive player of the year. He's like a top 2, top 3 defender in pretty much every single defensive metric there is. He just blocks. I mean, holy shit, the way he blocks shots is crazy. He's like a violent blocker, and I love that shit. It's not like these sneaky blocks where it's like, oh, boop, and you're like, oh, wait, what the fuck? This guy's got 5 blocks? Oh, I didn't even realize it. Like, he just blocks shots 10 rows deep, and it's just awesome to see. Neutral. A bit of a surprise, though, I'll be honest. I'll go a neutral surprise. I'm not that surprised, but I'm a little teeny tiny bit surprised. Number 2 in the West, the Memphis Grizzlies. This is another, I had them finishing 6th. I don't know why. I just kind of figured some team had to fall off a little tiny bit, and I guess I picked them. A little bit of a surprise for me, even though they shouldn't be a surprise at all. They showed us last year how deep they were and how, yeah, injuries don't really affect us. Like, we're going to win regardless. And that's been the case this year. Jaren Jackson missed a ton of time to start the season. And since he's come back, the Grizzlies have been the number 1 defense in the NBA. I was talking about Claxton being the defensive player of the year. Jaren Jackson is by far the defensive player of the year so far this season. I think he'll win it pretty comfortably as long as he stays healthy. Desmond Bane's missed a good amount of time. He came back recently. They were still winning games. John Morant's missed a few games here and there. They're still winning games. Like, they're just incredibly fucking deep. I worry about them in the playoffs. I just do. Like, I don't know. These super fast-paced teams, they scare me in the playoffs. That's just usually not a recipe for success in the postseason. But maybe the Grizzlies prove me wrong. They've been awesome. Even though I think John Morant's actually had a down year compared to last year. But again, this is just an incredibly well-coached team. And beyond that, they're like the Miami Heat of the West. Like, they just bring in talent. That talent's really fucking good. They're comfortable with letting guys go. They're comfortable trading guys away because they know they can just draft good players or bring in good players off the streets or bring in reclamation projects. And their player development is amazing. So the Grizzlies are a surprise, even though they shouldn't be. They're not a surprise to pretty much anybody else except me because I'm a fucking moron. All right, the 1 seeds. Let's fly through these. They're the 1 seeds. What's there to talk about? The Boston Celtics. Maybe a tiny bit of a surprise for me. The reason why I had them finishing 3rd was I thought there'd be a little bit of a finals hangover. I thought that there'd be some coasting involved. Like, you see this when teams start to make really deep runs in the playoffs. The regular season stops to become so important for them. We've seen this time and time again. And I also thought the Ime Udoka stuff would mess them up a little tiny bit, but that's not been the case. They've been awesome. They're still the 1 seed in the East. They're still the best team in the NBA record-wise, despite the fact that their month of December sucked. Like, they were 8-8. And their offense was one of the worst in the NBA. It was really brutal to watch. So that just goes to show that they're not a flawless team. They're not without their weaknesses. This is why when people are like, oh, well, it's the Boston Celtics and like the Bucks and everyone else in the East, I disagree. But the Celtics are still amazing. A bit of a surprise, although I'm not too surprised, right? Jaylen Brown's been awesome. He will 100% start the All-Star game. Tatum obviously has been... Tatum's been a big-time MVP candidate, even though I think his MVP candidacy is a little bit overrated. With KD out, he will start the All-Star game. Never mind. I was going to say, a healthy KD, Tatum might not even start the All-Star game. Who knows? But either way, the Celtics have been great. We know that they can win in the playoffs. They've shown it time and time again. And if I had to bet on a team in the East, I'm definitely betting on the Celtics to make the finals. But it is a little bit more open than I think people would expect. The 1 seed in the West, the Denver Nuggets, a bit of a surprise. But everybody knew that they had this type of ceiling, right? And granted, they are tied with the Grizzlies. I do want to point that out. But everybody knew that the Nuggets had a number 1 seed ceiling, a finals team ceiling. It just had to be health. And they haven't been all that healthy. And Jamal Murray hasn't been all that great since he's been back. But they're still the best offense in the NBA. They're still on a historic pace offensively. They've been awesome. Jokic, as it looks right now, might end up winning his 3rd consecutive MVP, which would put him in rarefied air. I think, was it like 3 people in the history of the league have done that? Which would be fucking crazy if Jokic were to do it. He's been awesome. He's been amazing. Uber efficient. Breaks every single advanced metric that we have. We have never seen a player like Jokic. We'll probably never see a player like Jokic again. He's been tremendous. Aaron Gordon has been awesome. An outside case for an all-star nod. I highly doubt that he gets it, though. Bruce Brown has been amazing. Like, Christian Brown has done things for them. They're just a deep team. They're incredible. It feels like every move they made in the offseason worked out. It was a good move for them. They're well coached by Michael Malone, even though I've seen Nuggets fans get pissed off at him. This is just how it is. You have to realize every fan base hates their coach at least a little tiny bit, even if you're the 1 seed. And I've seen that with Nuggets fans. But they're still like, they can still improve. That's a crazy thing. Like they have trade assets if they want to make a trade. Like they can still improve their depth and become even better. Like that's what's crazy. The Nuggets are a bit of a surprise to me, even though I knew that they could be this good if things worked out for them. And yeah, this has been a long video. I'm ending it right now. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, do it. Okay, goodbye.